portals he's waiting and watching for you and for me. Come home, ye who are weary, come home. Earnestly, tenderly, Jesus is calling, O sinner, come home. Why should we tarry when Jesus is pleading for you and for me? Why should we linger and heed not his mercies for you and for me? Come home, ye who are weary, come home. Earnestly, tenderly, Jesus is calling, O sinner, come home. Oh, for the wonderful love he has promised for you and for me. Though we have sinned, he has mercy and pardon for you and for me. Come home, ye who are weary, come home. Earnestly, tenderly, Jesus is calling, O sinner, come home.
Hey everybody. So glad that you have joined us this evening for Vespers, a chance for us to gather again and to be together, even though we're distanced right now. So we're going to begin this evening, like we do every Vespers, lighting this candle and celebrating the presence of Christ, who is in us, among us, and beyond us. Remembering all of those in our community of faith who are suffering, and also remembering those beyond our community of faith as well, who need our prayers and need our help right now. So we're so glad that you have joined us this evening so that we can share again Vespers tonight. Today we had the opportunity, Melissa and the kids and I, to go out for a walk. It was pretty cold out there, but it was so beautiful, such a beautiful and wonderful day. So we had the opportunity to go out and walk for a little bit, even in the cold. Emma and I ended up running for just a little bit, and it was kind of hard to feel our faces after that. But it was a beautiful time nonetheless to get a breath of fresh air and to be reminded of the beauty of creation that is all around us. I'm grateful for that. I'm also grateful for you all, for your continued presence with us, whether that's online on Zoom meetings. Last night we had our cooking group meeting, and I found out how I might be able to make my mashed potatoes better. But I'm going to have to, it's going to be a lot harder work. So I don't know if I'm going to do that or not, but I still know how. Even through those fun interactions as we talk about food or something else in our Sunday school classes as we meet on Zoom, I'm reminded of just how fortunate I am to be part of this loving and beautiful community of faith that celebrates the life, that celebrates the beauty of all people. And so I'm so glad that we can be here tonight. Tonight we have the opportunity to talk with Bob Fehr. Bob retired from UK, where he's an extension professor emeritus there in biosystems engineering. He's also an amazing woodworker. Now, I've seen a few things that he made, and I knew that Bob was a woodworker. He's made some toys and brought those in a little bit for me to see a couple of those. And then he's helped rebuild some tables at church as well. Those are lovely, but I had no idea the extent of his work. And so tonight, we're going to get to go with Bob to his shop and see a little bit of the things that he's made and see around his shop a little bit and find out how he's been doing. So let's go talk with Bob now. Hey Bob, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Thanks so much for letting us come in and to see your shop and to hang out with you for a little bit. It's so good to get to see you and to get to see how things are going. So tell us just a little bit, can you give us a little bit of an overview of what things have been like for you lately?
Actually, COVID hasn't changed my life a lot, because I didn't frequent bars at night, and so there's a lot of things I didn't do that are the things you're not supposed to do. I still play golf. Last week it was 3 times, so I still play golf when the weather allows, and so my life is kind of normal. There's a few things, I actually really miss church. I miss going out for lunch with my Sunday school group. I miss having them over to watch basketball on the wall, although this year may not be the year you want to watch basketball on the wall with UK. Yeah. But other than that, so there are things I miss that I don't do, but it's not, my everyday life is kind of normal. I still walk over to Kroger, is close to me. I walk over maybe every other day to buy something. I just don't plan. I say, I need that, so I'll walk over. Got nothing else to do, and I go to Lowe's. They almost say hello when I come in and call me by name. So.
Well, that's great. Well, I'm glad that you've been able to find some peace in the midst of everything that's going on, and glad too that we get the chance to see a little bit about your shop too, because I knew you made you did woodworking and you made some stuff. I'd seen a few of the things you made, but I had no idea the extent of it. So tell us a little bit about your woodworking. How did you get into it? How long have you been doing this?
Well, I started growing up on a farm. You kind of naturally do build things that you need. And when you're a child, you really need things like little things you can push around. If it's got wheels, you can ride on it. It's something you got to build. But So it started with that, and then I would make little projects for 4-H. That was one thing I did, and you can't see it, but on this hand is where I learned the lesson right down in here. I learned the lesson that you have to lift your hand up when you go over a spinning saw, because I basically cut through there, and not deep, you know.
Wow.
I was the stitch. Every year I had to have stitches, so it wasn't like that was a big deal to me. But that was kind of the beginning, and then I had to, shop in high school and stuff like that, and then there was a period of time I really didn't do anything, and then my real exposure to building nicer stuff came in graduate school at Iowa State. 3 people I was in an office with, there were 4 of us, and they were all into woodworking. And so one gentleman let me buy some walnut from him, and I made my first coffee table for Diane's mom. And that was kind of the beginning of that process.
Wow.
So that was
So now when you were building a coffee table, did that mean that you had to go out since you just started? Did you already have tools to do this with, or did you have to go out and buy some stuff to make this?
Well, again, now I'm in graduate school and who's got money, but they had a big woodworking shop in the department, and they would let us use it at night. So basically, I had access to a lot of really nice big tools, which are handier than even the tools I have. They're, the bigger they are, the more things you can do with them. So I was able to. The thing that was kind of humorous about that is I didn't bother to measure how wide the back of my cutlass was. And when I put in to move it from Ames, Iowa to Moorhead, Minnesota, I had roughly a 1/2 inch to spare.
Whoa.
But you should check. It's like building a boat in your basement, Be sure you know how you're getting it out.
That's a good point. Now, tell me, what were you studying in graduate school when you were there?
Oh, I'm an ag engineer by training and getting my PhD in agricultural engineering, and my expertise is in the area of building design and environmental control of facilities.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. And so you had all these resources to take advantage of, and then and some guidance to make a coffee table. Well, tell us a little bit about some of the other things that you've made.
Well, the coffee tables were kind of the beginning. They were I made one for Diane's mom, then I made one for my mom, and I made one for us. Each getting a little more complex. I actually don't have a picture of my mom's, but they got a little more complex as I went along. Then the next one was the journey to build a grandfather clock, the case for grandfather clock. And that one, I think Diane thought that was a never-ending story. And so it took years, because I to a point, and I had to make something, and I had no idea how to achieve that goal. And so I would kind of put it off and think about it, and finally I'd figure out a way to do it. Then we move forward a little bit and stuff like that.
So
the nice thing about that clock is the works for that clock were the inheritance from my grandfather.
Really?
So I mean, it's interesting to me. It has a personal meaning because the works were paid for with an inheritance from my grandfather.
Oh, that is wonderful. Well, and to build something like I'm looking at a picture of it now, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's gorgeous. And so to build something like that is just this beautiful piece that's going to last and that you can, pass down is just that is amazing. That is wonderful. So did you not start with plans for that? Did you just kind of?
In general, the way I work is not the way you should, but I had plans, but I don't follow plans. I more use them for ideas, like what proportions do you build things? Because I'm not great at the artistic part of it. So I look around on the web. In this case, this was before pre-web, and so I had a couple of different plans and say, okay, I know how big the bottom needs to be and how big the middle needs to be, and so on and so forth. And you kind of need the works before you can build the clock, because the pendulum swings back and forth and you don't want it whacking on the side. So anyway, there's some things that have to progress in this thing. So Yeah, that was my longest one. It's probably my finest piece. I mean, I haven't done anything approaches that in terms of overall quality.
Wow. Well, I mean, it is gorgeous. That is just amazing work, and so beautiful. So, can you tell us a little bit about, like, what is it made out of? What kind of wood did you use for that?
That's black walnut, and most of the things I build that are nice like that, I use black walnut. It's available here. Bought it. Actually, Don Carver and I went down to Liberty, Kentucky, and bought this load of it and brought it home and divvied it up. And I don't know where his is. Mine has. I still some have mine. Some of mine left. We were going to be big time woodworkers, and then life got away. And so that's black walnut. And the nice thing about black walnut is the color is color of black walnut with just a plain finish. There is no stain. I hate staining, and I never get it quite right. And that is just basically an oil type finish that goes on and makes it that dark color.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh! Well, I love it. That is just that is so gorgeous and beautiful. Now I'm looking at some other stuff on here. I see a crib as well. That is beautiful.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, that's Ruby in the crib. The picture with the young lady is named Ruby. That's Timothy up in Moorhead, Minnesota, Diane's nephew. I built that for a few years. Well, she's 3 now, so 3 years ago I built it. What makes that crib unique is that is totally disassembled and fits in a box that's 12 inches tall.
No.
And then about 36 inches is the longest length. Every piece comes off. And then, because I had to ship it, and that's the rules for shipping by the post office, is the height. And so I figured out the dimensions of the box I could use, and then worked backwards to figure out how I could build a cradle around that. And everything comes apart. You can disassemble that, like saying, stack it into 12 inches.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. So what are you used to hold it together? Then are there bolts in there, or is it screws and stuff that?
They're the threaded part, the nut. Actually, there's a special thing that screws into the wood, which will be the equivalent of a nut, and then you can screw a bolt into it. So it looks like just 2 pieces of wood.
Right.
But there is a holder in here and a screw that goes through. It was kind of funny, so I sent it to my nephew, and he finally got it, and so he's putting it together. And he texted me, I said, okay, I got to run to the store. He may have called me. He said, I got to run to the store and get these pieces. I need to put this together. I said, did you look in the box? He said, oh, they're there. I said, okay. So then he went. Half hour later, he said, well, now I need to run to the store again because I need an Allen wrench to do this. You didn't look in the box, did you? Oh, it's there. Because I knew that would happen. I had some extra in anyway, but I said, he needs everything he needs to get this assembled. The other part is, as I took it apart in the living room and then packed it, somewhere in my living room there was a nut on one end of the thing, and somewhere in that living room it's there because I had it assembled. I took it apart, and I had to go buy another nut because I could not find one. Somewhere in my living room is that nut. I have never found it. That was 3 years ago.
Well, maybe one day it'll turn up. You never know. Maybe it's in a place with all the left socks in the world that have been lost too. It's gone to whatever dimension that is. Okay, so one of the things that I really love that you've done, and that I actually saw 1 or 2 of these things that you brought to church, are the toys. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the toys that you've made? Because those are so cool.
I have one here. This is my duck. I made kind of 2 versions of the duck. I don't know how well that comes across. But anyway, that's a duck, and I painted it look like a mallard. It's got little things on it, and the legs flop as you move along. That's what makes it the little floppy sound. You could make it any shape you wanted to. They're actually relatively easy because they're just smooth cuts. And so actually this is, all things considered, the trickiest part on this is getting this hole drilled in at the right angle. Other than that, this is a fairly straightforward thing to build. So that's my duck. And
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I had a grasshopper. I think I don't have a grasshopper. I made this one. I finally started saying, you got to make one for yourself. And hopefully people will see the grasshopper, which is cute because when he moves along, his feet, his back legs go up. And the other one I have behind me is my cars. And this came from a friend I was visiting. One of those guys, the guy actually got me started at the Walnut. He lives around Clemson. I was to see him about 4 years ago. And I was down at his shop. He has a bigger shop than I do. And I saw these little toy cars, and I said, what do you do with those? And he said, well, I make them and give them I can't remember where he gives them, but so that kids can have them at Christmas.
Oh, that is awesome.
So that's what got me into making little cars. And so I just, they're pretty straightforward, pretty simple things to do. And when I take you around the shop, I'll show you how some of the magic happens. But anyway, so I make about half dozen of them, 16 of them, and I give them to Ronald McDonald House. And they give them away or whatever they want to do with them. My latest ones this year, I don't actually make this for Ronald McDonald because they're a little too much work, but this is my hot rod version.
Oh.
It's got smaller wheels front. It's got little leg pipes on it.
That is so cool.
And this one is my dragster version. And it's got smaller wheels in the front, and it even has a blower on it.
Oh, that is cool. I love it. And the wheels on those are just gorgeous. I mean, it's just a gorgeous.
Well, no, those are purchased. That's
okay.
Stuff. I mean, you buy them. I don't make wheels. I have.
That's awesome. I love it. Those are so cool, and it's just beautiful to see stuff that's handmade, that that somebody has really spent time on. There's something just that's so special about that to me.
A nice part from them this year said the kids really enjoy them. They let the parents pick them out for the kids in the hospital, and then one of the kids in the hospital has a little brother that was there, and he got to pick out one for his brother and one for himself, and he was pretty excited.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, well, okay, so you mentioned about your shop. Take us around your shop a little bit and show us how you make these things.
I'll try to be a little still here and not be too crazy with it. Okay, so the beginning of the tour of the shop, this is much like The Price is Right or Wizard of Oz. No one goes behind I can barely walk behind the curtain. And the people who know me will say, that shop is never that clean. But anyway, so that's my bandsaw. And on this wall is basically most of my woodworking tools. That's a sander, and it rotates and goes up and down. And you'll notice, I'll move a little closer, it has different size pieces I can put on there. So nothing on those cars can't be sanded.
Oh,
that's the limitation. Yeah. How little a circle can be. It's that little,
right?
Because I want to that thing. This is a disc and belt sander. There's no such thing as too many sanders. That's not a word that anybody uses. I have a press drill, so I can drill the holes for the wheels. The axles in there square so that they don't sit sideways. I've got a chop saw, a miter. Well, it's a miter saw technically. They make better ones now. Actually, this is just an air compressor, but I use it because I have a brad nailer if I'm putting something together quickly. This is a router table, so if I'm doing some routing, I can put the bit and it comes. The router sits under that small hole.
Oh, that's a nice big router table. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's handy. And below it is a planer, and because I get all my wood as rough cut wood, or I have in the past, I need a planer to thickness it and smooth it. So that's my planer. I have about 2 years ago. Well, it was after I built the built the crib that I was almost killing myself with dust, so I bought a dust collector so I could kind of save so that thing blows up. There's a big fan on it. My table saw that I've had, that's probably my first big purchase when I came to Lexington. So about 76 is when I got that table saw. And it's something I use a lot, all the time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Kind of a collection of wood back in here. I've got a hand miter saw, that's a wood vise, a scroll saw. The only reason I'm showing you this, because this is personal for me, this is a grinder that came out of the farm, so where I grew up. So I was thinking to myself, how old will I tell them that grinder is? And then I stopped. You know how old you are, big boy? So that thing's got to be 90 plus years old, just because I'm getting, not there, but I'm, you get the picture. It's a part of the deal. These are some jigs. If you're ever into woodworking, building jigs is a big deal. This one I set up aside. I should have moved it out a little more. This one is kind of fun because the little tables I made for church, the little square ones, the little white ones. The tops. They are white. I had to cut vertical slots in two sides of each of the leg. So you have to build a jig that you can get those exactly in the same place every time and exactly straight up and down. So that jig is what I built that for, is to make slots in the side of those.
Oh, that's awesome. So then you just stick your piece of wood in there, and then you put the slot. Now you put the slots in with a router. You do that on your router?
Yeah, with a router.
Yeah.
So, and this is it's a radial arm saw. Back up here. That's a radial arm saw, but it's actually a drum sander. They don't make this piece of equipment anymore, the company, but that is actually a 20-inch wide sander.
Whoa!
And I can sand flat things that are 20 inches wide. And when I made the table for my nephew, that was a big project. And that is the jig I made. It's a tray that I could set that on the leaves of and then push it under there more uniformly.
Oh, that's awesome. That is amazing.
So this is the only reason I show you my shop vac is because me and George Clooney use a Flowbee. I haven't had my hair cut by a barber in 20 years. But both me and George Clooney use a Flowbee.
What? You actually have a Flowbee? Yes. I was thinking, I literally just saw that you could still buy them online the other day, and went online to look at it and was very tempted. I almost hit the buy button because. Well,
I've done it for 20 years. John Thompson I cut his hair for his son's wedding with a Flowbee.
What?
Yeah. It was during COVID. It was. Anyway, it's kind of a joke, but I have pictures of John getting his hair cut. And that's my workbench and all my tools. I have a rack behind it so I can find things, just find where my tools are. And I have a little bit too much of some things, but that they just tend to collect over time. The coolest thing about it has these drawers for plans, which means they're big and flat and narrow. So I can just throw things in there, but I can find them because it's not very deep. They don't land on top of each other. So.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
And I'm not opening those drawers either. So,
well, I'm afraid.
So that's my tour.
That's awesome. I'm afraid you're going to have some folks bringing by, lining up at your door to do some sanding with that huge sander over there. So.
Yeah, it works nice. I said that it's when you're I never actually ever used it. Well, maybe once or twice as a radial arm saw, but I'm not. Radial arm saws kind of scare me, so I don't use them.
Yeah.
But
well, that is really cool. So tell us, is there anything? First of all, what's your favorite part of woodworking? Is there something that what keeps you coming back to do it again and again? What do you enjoy about it the most?
Figuring out how to do it. I spend hours in the evening sketching and figuring out how I'm going to make that joint. There's a table that I made for Timothy, and again, that was a unique in that fact the bottom had to stay stable and the top moved, but there's a piece you can buy for that, but just how to configure that. And then what also made it was unique, I had to get it in my vehicle to get it up to Moorhead, which means I had to be able to take the legs off and the top off. So it's all disassemblable, again, this time just to get in my SUV, but it's still kind of the same concept. How do you take it down?
Yeah.
And it also, the other part that's unique, and it's a picture and people may not catch it, but when it's open, you're looking at the top of the leaves because he didn't have room to store the leaves anywhere. So the leaves actually sit under the top when it's closed and small. So when you use them, you just spread the leaves the top both ways, and then you can lift off the leaves and the extra leaves and put them in.
Oh, that is awesome. Oh, okay, I see that now. It's the picture of this one has the UK rug underneath it. Is that right? Yeah. Oh, wow, that is brilliant. So this is like some of the thrill is the engineering aspect of it. Then.
It absolutely is. I mean, how are you going to make the joints? How are you going to do? What's the sequence? Okay, I do this and this and this, and then. So that's actually the fun. They're making the jigs. I mean, they actually have more fun. The thing I hate is finishing, unless it's walnut or cherry, which I can just put oil on and it's pretty.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if I paint it or stain it, then that's just worrisome. But the making of it is fun too. But the planning it is really it's kind of a challenge. Even those little square tables were a challenge. There are some parts of that how are you going to put it together? You know, how are you going to cut it out? How are you going to put it together? When are you going to sand what? So you get it. You know, you have to sand it before you put it together. So anyway, it just takes time. That's the fun part. That's the challenge.
That's really cool, and that's from so many times I just want to jump in and do something because I feel the pressure to get this done, and that does not work out very well. So taking the time feels very important.
Yeah.
Well, are there any other lessons that you've learned in woodworking? Has it taught you anything along the way? Anything that you draw from that?
I mean, other than don't put your hand over the saw too low. That one is a lesson.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting. It's interesting because of I guess you develop your skills at planning. So I don't know if that's a life lesson. What thing I've observed from this, and I don't know if this is a life lesson, but one thing that's nice about it is I can be sitting upstairs and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I go down to the basement and make something or think about something. And I feel sorry. There are people who were taught to do that you like. I mean, it could be painting, it could be reading. It's just, for me, it's woodworking and playing golf really badly. But and I also like to cook. I do some cooking too.
Well, that's awesome. So, if somebody wanted to start woodworking, and they thought, oh, I want to give this a go, where do you think they should start?
Well, okay, so I've given that some thought, and I did look at the library, the Lexington Library, and they have a lot of books. So the first thing I would tell someone if they're totally kind of a novice, haven't really done this or want to get started, is read a couple books. There's one called, as you might guess, there's one called Woodworking for Dummies, and it's not carpentry. Carpentry is building a house. Woodworking is building smaller things. So you've got to don't get a carpentry book because you're not going to be a carpenter, you're going to be a woodworker. And then I would start small. After I read those, I would start small. The good news is now, which I didn't have when I was starting out, is you can, if you know, part of reading the book is to learn the words. Because it's like computers, there's words, and if you don't know the words and you want to search for something, you're kind of lost. It's not hard to find if you use the right word, but if you don't, you're just kind of lost. And then you can go online and see all kinds of YouTube videos people have put up on how to do things. In fact, when I get ready to do things, I will look just to see options. That's how I think, well, I wonder how I could do that, or how would I do that? But again, the trick is learning the word.
Right.
So that when you do, how do I do X? Well, then it knows what it's looking for, and it's not showing you, how to grow corn when you're trying to do something in wood. So I would start by reading at least a couple books, and then I would start with small projects, and I'd make them meaningful. I mean, not just, trying to build a fancy box. I would, do you need something in the house? I don't mean a piece of furniture. I mean just maybe a shelf rack somewhere or something.
Yeah.
And then that's where I'd start.
Oh, well, that's beautiful, and that's awesome. I thanks so much for showing us around and letting us see your shop and showing us the things you made. I knew you made stuff, but I had no idea it was so much, and just the craftsmanship is just amazing, Bob. Thank you so much for letting us see this. It's been awesome, and so maybe you can show us, put some YouTube videos together for us, and you can teach us how to make some of these things. How about that?
Well, the funny thing I always forget is when I get done, I think to myself, I should have taken a picture of how I did that, because I might forget how I did that. I'm bad about that. I get to the end and say, oh, I should have a picture of that thing, because that to explain it to someone. Yeah. But anyway.
Oh, well, that is awesome. Thank you so much. It's been a joy to get to talk with you and to get to find out a little bit more about your avocations and what you've been doing. And it's so good just to get to hang out for a little while too. So thanks so much, Bob.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully we'll get to see you again soon.
All right.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much, Bob, for taking time out to share with us. It really was great to get to hang out with you, to see around your shop, and to see some of the work that you've been doing as well. Those are some beautiful pieces. So thanks for letting us know a little bit more about those things. Before we go tonight, this probably is not a great idea to sing a song together that J-Lo sang earlier today, but it's been in my head ever since. And I think I'm gonna have to sing it tonight and invite you to sing with me. This land is your land. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me. As I was walking a ribbon of highway, I saw above me an endless skyway. I saw below me golden valley. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. I've roamed and rambled. I followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts. And all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the redwood forest stream waters. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me. Thanks again for being here with us this evening, for taking time out to share and to chat with each other. We'll continue to meet again on Sunday. You can find us right back here on our YouTube channel for worship at 11 o'clock on Sunday. If you'd like to know more about other things that are going on at Central, you can go to our website, lexcentral.com. On the front page there, you'll find a list of lots of different things and ways that you can be involved. You can sign up for our newsletter, and you can check out Zoom groups that are meeting. There's folks there that you can contact so that you can get in touch with them and find out about how to meet with a Sunday school class or a Thursday school class or baby boomers that's been meeting. We're going to have a writer's workshop coming up at on the 1st of February. We just had a cooking class this last Tuesday night. So there's all kinds of ways that you can connect, even if it's not something that you've really done a lot of before. It's just great to be able to hang out, to meet some folks, and to talk and to share, and to remember that we're not alone. We are all in this together. And so thanks again for joining us, and we hope to see you again on Sunday. For now, go in peace.